Welcome back to another Champion Deep Dive, and today we're talking about Halklingg. He's got Regeneration, Power Gain Burst, Aptitude, Pierce, Unblockable, and a special 2 stacked with Fury, leaving big yellow numbers in its wake. Let's get into it. Halklingg enters the contest with an advanced Kree Skrull physiology, providing him with immunity to shock and poison. Additionally, the mystical Excelsior Sword protects Halkling's energy, granting immunity to power drain, steel, and burn effects, while reducing incoming heal block durations by 2 seconds. Now, for each unique buff Halklingg has, he gains increased attack rating. Also, by default, Halkling's offensive combat power rate is decreased by 20%, but more on this in just a bit. Now, Halklingg has shapeshift charges. He'll start the fight with 3 and gain 1 charge every second. However, this timer is paused during basic attacks and while being struck. If Halkling's immunity prevents an effect, he'll also gain a charge. Now, these shapeshift charges convert into different buffs depending on the action. Hitting into block converts into a pierce buff, increasing block and armor penetration. Striking with a light or medium attack converts into an aptitude buff, increasing the potency of fury, armor, and precision buffs by 18%. Well-timed blocks convert into a bulwark buff, increasing block proficiency. And being struck by the opponent converts into a regeneration buff, healing 65% of damage taken from the strike. These buffs all last 16 seconds and can stack up to 4 times. Also, each time a buff converts, Halklingg passively gains 7% of bar of power, making up for that decreased combat power rate. Now, Halklingg enters peak transformation for every 5 pierce buffs gained, granting an unblockable buff for 5 seconds. This amount is reduced to 3 when Halklingg is fighting as a defender. This also occurs every 8 regeneration buffs gained, granting an indestructible buff for 2.5 seconds. As a defender, the requirement is 5. If either of these buffs are nullified, they're replaced with identical passives, with their duration increased by 3 seconds. Both the indestructible buff and passive are removed after being struck by the opponent's special attack 3. As for his heavy attacks, Halklingg inflicts a non-stacking Intimidate debuff for 8 seconds, making the opponent more likely to block, and reducing their block proficiency. This has a cooldown of 10 seconds. Now, let's check out his special attacks. The Special 1. On activation, and lasting the next 10 seconds, the time between gaining shapeshift charges is decreased to 0.5 seconds. In other words, you're gaining charges twice as fast. Also, if Halklingg is or becomes unblockable during this attack, he pauses all his personal buffs, other than unblockable, and remains paused 2 seconds after this attack ends. With the Special 2, on activation, Halklingg gains a Fury buff, increasing attack for 10 seconds. If Halklingg is or becomes unblockable during this attack, he gains another Fury buff, largely increasing attack by 10 seconds. The Special 3. If Halklingg has at least 2 bulwark shapeshift buffs, he pauses 2 of them for the remainder of the fight. This effect can only occur once per fight. Now, if Halklingg doesn't have enough bulwark, or they're already paused, he'll pause aptitude buffs instead. And then, pierce buffs are next in the order. If Halkling doesn't have any of the required buffs, he instead gains shapeshift charges up to their max. Now, let's check out his signature ability. When awakened, Halkling gains King of Space. This is an always active ability, where his personal bulwark buff duration is increased by up to 4 seconds flat. Also, his personal fury buff duration is increased by up to 3 seconds flat. And he gains up to 550.52 armor penetration for each active personal pierce buff. Now, let's take him out for a spin in the champion rotation. To begin, build up to your special 1, using your shapeshift charges as a catalyst to power gain. Once your special 1 is available, launch it to gain decreased time between shapeshift charges. From here, build up to the special 2, making sure you have 4 active aptitude buffs. Next, heavy attack the opponent to inflict an intimidate debuff to force them into a defensive state, making them more likely to block. Make sure you have at least 5 shapeshift charges and perform a full block string combo into the opponent, meeting the 5 pierce buff threshold, but also making Halkling unblockable. From there, launch the special 2. This grants you 1 fury from activation and another fury from being unblockable. This will give you a nice attack bump for a chunky special 2 payoff. Now, let's check out some best uses. With easy access to multiple buffs, Halkling takes on buffed up with no problem. Immunity to poison and access to fury buffs gives Halkling the path to damage on Caustic Temper. Unblockable allows Halkling to bypass Bane or brute force nodes. This also comes in handy with passive opponents. With Pierce and Intimidate, Halkling increases his damage when taking on opponents on the invade nodes. Of course, there are more than just these uses. Where would you use Halkling? Sound off in the comments below. Now, let's check out some notable synergies. True Love. With Wiccan on the team, Halkling gains a solo synergy, becoming stun immune when he has at least 3 pierce buffs. Son of Marvel. With Captain Marvel on the team, Halkling's max shapeshift charges are increased to 12. With Captain Marvel, if she would start the fight with less than 10 energy charges, she'll start with 10 instead. Kooky Triplet. With Squirrel Girl on the team, Halkling, when striking the opponent while unblockable, gains a 50% chance to inflict a non-stacking armor break debuff for 10 seconds, reducing armor rating by 500. With Squirrel Girl, each time the opponent is inflicted with one of her personal bleed debuffs, she gains a 25% chance to purify one of each non-damaging debuffs on her. Fighting Destiny. With Super Scroll on the team, Halkling, when striking a tech opponent, gains a 15% chance per armor up buff to gain a non-stacking pierce buff of 700 potency for 16 seconds. With Super Scroll, personal energy vulnerability debuffs are paused while attacking the opponent. The Prince and the Frog. With Toad on the team, Halkling's peak transformation can now be triggered with 1 less pierce buff in order to gain the unblockable buff. With Toad, when the opponent gains a poison effect, if they have 5 poison effects, refresh Toad's personal slow debuff. Now, did you see a synergy that pierced through the rest? Thinking of a new synergy team? Let us know your thoughts below and let's discuss. Thank you for watching this champion deep dive for Halkling. Are you ready? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you liked the video and want to see more, click subscribe, like, comment, and share. And remember, we'll see you in the Battle Realm.